for being here and to do this presentation and to share with you some of our experiences. And I've got a lot of slides and, sorry. Yeah. Okay. And because when I was thinking about what shall I say here, for many scientists, I thought let's first explain a bit about my background. I'm a tropical ecologist. Studied in Colombia and in Amsterdam, and when I came back there was no work. So when I came back from Colombia, so I thought, what can I do? No one is waiting for a tropical ecologist, so let's start a business. And I started a business together with other unemployed people, biologists, in ecotourism. And this business, run quite well. We did it for 10 years, and it's now sold to a large company. And I have a business background, but only business was a bit too narrow for me. So I thought I need to really do the work where I'm good in this, and that's work in conservation. And finally, I was able to join IUCN here in the Netherlands, run a rainforest small grants program, and become director, which I'm doing now for several years. What is IUCN? Where's the up? No. IUCN is this, we measure, we unite NGOs, scientists and governments. We bring standards on protected areas, and we bring practical solutions, and we also advise on conventions, UNESCO, etc. In the Netherlands, and we are of course known by because of the red list. In the Netherlands we have a lot of members, 35 members, and those members are part of our platform, as we have 4 roles in the Netherlands. We have a platform of members. We are an international IUCN hub, you could say. We bring knowledge in the arena. We influence, increasingly, politicians and business, which is one of our core businesses. And we facilitate and finance. We have, over the last 15 years, we have financed almost for 60 million euros in 60 countries on small projects in the tropics. And now we still continue this work in 26 countries. But what we have done over the last few years is that we have established a business network, because I was convinced that we should bring ecosystem thinking to the business. And that's what we started in 2005. So this is you could say, our goal, our mission. It's in a way, you could say, a translation in the Netherlands of the international IUCN goal and mission, bringing IUCN missions in the heart and mind of government, politicians and businesses by creating a dialogue and trust to increase ecosystem management and restoration. That's what we do. That's what we do towards politicians. Every 2 months we have what we call meeting in The Hague with politicians, NGOs and scientists and business to bring this ecosystem thinking to politicians and government. And with our Leaders for Nature program for business we do the same thing, but in a different way, of course. Yes, much is known, and I very much appreciated the 2 presentations of Nico and Christo, because I'm going to talk about closing the gap, and I saw that the same words were mentioned in the presentation of Christo. This is what we need to do, but much is known. We already know so many things about ecosystems, about the drivers, about the effect on food, water, climate, biodiversity. And we know about the 10 planetary boundaries. This is the Ruxton study from Stockholm. And we know about the causes of biodiversity loss. These are the 5 main causes of the red list. So all those studies confirm what we already know, but still it is difficult to reach business. How do we do that? We know about the ecosystem services. We know about the provisionary, regulating, cultural and supporting services. And still there is a large gap between action, drivers, and our scientific and NGO community. Impact, risks and opportunities and dependencies. Business is slowly and increasingly going to understand this. And Mikkel told us about how difficult it is and how difficult... I saw this, we saw this before, isn't it, in a way? You've probably seen this in lots of versions over the last few days, isn't it? But how to deal with this? And that is what we try to do in the Netherlands over now 7 years. We try to bring business to understand. That's what we did. Is we talked and created the dialogue with business on energy and ecosystems. Last week we signed a manifesto with NGOs and a lot of companies on bio-based economy in relation to ecosystems. We are talking with the food companies, Unilever, Nestle and others, on the importance, and of course the soy and the palm oil issues, on the importance of ecosystems. As you can see here, this is Brazil. Do you know how much the left part per acre or per hectare is worth? It's between $1,000 and $4,000. And the right part, the rainforest part, what do you think? How much will it cost in Brazil? It's between 100 and 400. That's the difference. This is China, 4,000 years of culture here. This is the place where the largest ethnic community of the world, the Han Chinese, built their culture. The Lus Plateau, this is what left. This is what was left. They're all on the coast now. So it's time for tipping points. And we need to accelerate and to build and to really start a new global, you could say a global ecosystem network where business is the driver, include with the knowledge of NGOs and scientists. And that's the next step. In the Anthropocene, where we're now in, we need to find out how we use the knowledge of the past and how we can integrate it for our future activities. But first we have to communicate extensively as scientists and NGOs what were our successes. Agreements work, policies work. We have seen the example of Henk de Jong of the Netherlands. Lots of things are working and are really doing well. Conservation is working, restoration works, and biodiversity leads to innovation. Agreements work. A lot of agreements really work. Of course, they do not work 100%, but without the International Whaling Commission, we did not have any whales left. And the CITES is also an agreement that really works. It doesn't work perfect, but it really works. The same thing is for the Montreal Ozone Agreement, for instance. Policy also is working. Of course, in some countries it works better than in others. Some countries like Haiti, it's not working at all because there's not a government. But even in the Dominican Republic it works. And you have seen the slide of Henk de Jong in the Netherlands with the ecological framework or the green infrastructure we have laid over the last 20 years. It works. But also biodiversity leads to innovation. If you understand businesses and understand their drives and talk with them about your problems, in this case of bird migration, you can talk with them and see that they can make new innovative thinking. With green lights, birds will not stop or fly against those oil industry activities. And this lighting of Philips is going to be used in many, many new examples. And conservation works, and we know that especially in the marine issues with protected areas, where now this is the east coast of the United States, where protected areas attract a lot of vessel movement of fishermen. So it works. Restoration works as well. Just a small example. This was a paint fabric plant in near Sao Paulo of AkzoNobel, where they bought 70 hectares of eucalyptus. What's this? Can you switch off your radio, please? Oh, okay. But shall I continue, or what shall we do? Yeah? Okay. I only have some 700 slides left, so don't worry. So, restoration. A few more minutes. Wow. Don't worry. Restoration works. This plant, what they did is they replanted the Atlantic rainforest, restored the Atlantic rainforest for their own water supply and for, of course, the water supply of the people in the neighborhood. So we all know this, and we all know about TEEP. You've talked about TEEP, and TEEP was indeed a new beginning for our movement. And therefore we as NGOs and scientists have to elaborate on it. We have to think differently, be differently. We need to scale up and accelerate. We need to show that these things are working, but we also have to go further. And let me explain how we did a bit on this in the Netherlands. We started in 2005 with what we called Leaders for Nature. We brought together leading people in of the business community, CEOs and also directors, but later on also young professionals, and we started a network. And now we have a network of almost 20 companies, and even more are coming, on ecosystems and biodiversity. Actually, we don't mention the word biodiversity any longer, we only mention ecosystems. Over the last few years, it resulted in several things. We founded it in 2005, and we sent an open letter of 90 CEOs in 2006. And finally, in 2008, we brought TEEP under the attention of the Dutch business community, and they were a bit shocked. They did not know this. Finally, it ended in an MOU with the Dutch Confederation of Industry and Employees, the most powerful the most powerful organization, VNO-NCW, on biodiversity last year, and even this year we are able to sign an agreement with companies for 20 years, an intention with 10 multinationals on ecosystem services and on restoration. So how do we create this enabling environment? First of all, communicate your successes and show that conservation works with all kinds of examples you have. Second thing is create trust. And that takes a lot of talking, a lot of understanding of how businesses are working and what the drivers are of businesses. And Nicole gave us that example of Shell. So we know it is difficult, but it's not impossible. We also noted that it's important to talk about the psychological things, the U-curve, we call it. That is bringing people back to nature. Let them understand what nature is, especially people in the business. Let them reconnect to nature. And then, of course, what we did is we formed business-to-business group. Not NGOs to business or one NGO to one business company. No, businesses talk about these issues together. And we used the 7-step for TEEP. And finally, we brought our NGOs, our local expertise also in the group. Very important is this, that they all mentioned the fact that they need a global ecosystem valuation standard. That's what they need. Mikkel told it. I think it's very important that that will come. So some recommendations before I stop. I think it's very important that we connect restoration to the ecosystem valuation, to a global ecosystem valuation tool. And I know it will never be perfect, especially with so many scientists here in the room. It will never be perfect, but we have to start. I mean, Steve Jobs started with new things. Microsoft started with Windows 1.0. We have to start with a global valuation, ecosystem valuation tool 1.0, and then work it out further. And those partners of the business community who work with us have to restore also ecosystems with the tools we have. And there are lots of tools. We have seen it over the last few days, and yeah, there are so many examples. It is tailor-made, and we need a broker, a matchmaker. And my suggestion is let the World Business Council of Sustainable Development and IUCN do that job. So we can indeed restore also the Lust Plateau, and they started already a few years ago in China. And what you see is that the business case is clear there. But of course, they have a visionary government from this perspective. So finally, before I give the next speaker a chance to use her time, I think it's important that we understand what is needed for the systematic change and system thinking. And what we see is that those people who look differently can make a change. And we have to start now, as soon as possible. Thank you very much.